All right. Hey, Black women. Hey, Black Joy family. Where are we? Is it happening right now? Are we there? Okay, that's it. Hey, Black women. Hey, Black Joy family. Okay, it's a little delay, but I'm going to keep it. Can you hear it? You can hear that? Can you hear the video? Can you hear me?
Hear what?
Can you hear the video that was playing or no?
I didn't hear anything.
All right, welcome to our weekly reset. So this is a place where we talk, we come here, we talk, and trying to make sure it's showing up. We come here, we talk, and we talk about what's really going on in the world. So we got a couple of things that came up this week. It doesn't look like we're live though, but we are. All right, we got a couple of things that came up this week. One being, let me do some timestamps on here. Let me do some housekeeping stuff first. So, first of all, I'm Lisa Blunt. I am your host for today, me and the illustrious Dr. Kimberly Chandler. I am a licensed professional counselor, and Dr. Kimberly is, you want to describe yourself, Dr. Kim?
Licensed professional counselor,
And a doctor in,
communication studies.
oh, don't leave that stuff out. So this is a place where we are here to talk. We're here to talk about what's going on in the world. Call it for what it is. And today we got a couple of hot topics. Oh, it is here. Okay. We got a couple of hot topics today. One is, you want to talk about what has been, first of all, I never mind. I'm not even going to go into that. I was about to say about the Michael Jackson movie, but I ain't even going to go into that. First of all, because sometimes the world and the people in it just will show you how little they care, how little they regard your safety. I want to talk about Megan Thee Stallion. I want to talk about that as one of our first hot topics this morning. This evening, because it's just one is personal to me. It's near and dear to my heart, but it's also specific to the work that I do with Black women and just our overall well-being and how it can easily be disregarded. So when we talked this week, Dr. Kim, I said, well, we talked about coming up with our hot topics today. What did you think of, what's your take on Megan Thee Stallion?
And that's really what I thought it was a hot take, because I feel like it's my take on it. Every other people may feel differently about it, but the thing that really came out of it to me was about men and their lack of accountability, and how that lack of accountability, um, first of all, it grieves my soul, because it really frames how our relationships with men have impacted our lack of safety, emotional safety, psychological safety, the safety of our relationships, and this our relationships with men have really framed the whole conversation around clarity. We cannot go by the behavior of men anymore, right? If we look at this, if we look at the relationship with Megan Thee Stallion, I always like to say the Stallion because that's how she put it. The behavior of her paramour would say that she was in a monogamous relationship. Why wouldn't it say anything else? The behavior was all the things that a monogamous relationship would have in it. So what else would she think? But what relation, and not just hers, because of course these are these entertainer relationships, right? All we see is what they put out. But even everyday relationships, we're finding that we're with men that, we are meeting their families, we are They are buying gifts. They are sharing space and quality time with us. Um, all the things that would make for monogamous relationships. And after months or years of doing this, right? They meet our family, we meet their family, we go on trips together. All the things that a monogamous relationship is, all of a sudden, they are not interested, or they decide that they're going to go see someone else unbeknownst to us. That lack of accountability, and then when they say, well, I never said I was in a monogamous relationship, first of all, I call bullshit on that. They know what they're doing.
Is that what happened? Did he say that?
From
Or are
what
you just saying in general context?
I'm saying in general context,
Okay.
but his behavior said that,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
means it's a lack of accountability. um, but this notion that we as Black women have to say, I want a monogamous relationship. Is that what you want? That is what it's come down to. So one would say we would have to look at a person's behavior to know what is true. That typically is what has to happen. But now what is happening is we have to say, I want a monogamous relationship. Is that what you want? Before proceeding. That's how we hold people accountable now. Now, they could go out and do some other things. They could go out and have sex with someone else. But the measuring stick is that's what I said, right? And you agreed to it. And if you decide to do something else, we go back to the standard. And so that's where I hold the boundary to get out of the relationship. I think it's just so immature. These things have become really immature around relationships.
Yeah, for sure. I think I need to move there. Okay, for sure. Can you hear me? Okay.
I can hear you okay.
Yeah, no.
Oh, I can't hear you now.
Okay. I think even when it comes to Megan Thee Stallion, we watched her. We watched her tell her truth the first time with whatever his name is. What's I don't know his name. The one but we watched her under oath tell the truth. It had been verified while she was under oath. A jury agreed with her. And we watched it. But because it and the hard part for me is that this is not just about her, right? This is about a pattern, like you said. It's not just this is that we always have to audition for the for the right.
Right.
For the right just to even be believed about our own pain. So it's like it's just it just carries so much because it's so weighted. It's so weighted in a sense of like even when you're telling the truth, even when you say things, you talk about Black men being responsible and taking some accountability. I even hear so many women saying this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard for me to fathom that given the society that we have, the way that we've grown up, the things that we have seen, that there are women who would still say, but what did she do?
Yep.
Or she wasn't clear enough.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the other issue, I I probably could have read it a little more, but I think one of the other issues for me is that she said, I want a monogamous relationship. I want a monogamous relationship and I won't settle for something that is less than that. And she still got flat. I,
Part of this, if I can add this piece, I
please.
think there is a generational aspect to this as well, right? And I think for both of us, because we represent two different generations, right? Millennial and I'm Gen X.
I'm Gen X,
You're
man.
not Gen X.
I am. I'm close to millennial. I'm what did they call it?
A Zennial?
Millennial. But
Okay.
I'm a Gen Xer.
I'm putting
Okay,
you
go
in millennial. Anyway,
ahead.
but no, there is seriously, there is a difference between millennials, Gen Z, and Gen X, which I am,
For sure.
where this sense of entitlement that came with millennials and Gen Z, the way that they have, there has been a raise kind of thing, but also I think there is a break there, right? The lack of empathy that happened in terms of the way that the entitlement came in, right? You
Mhm.
saw it when you saw these kids dating in high school. You saw it very clear. I saw it as a professor when I saw these kids, if you want to call it dating, because it really wasn't dating when I saw it in college, right? They hooked up. It was a hookup culture, right? And so there wasn't this sense of concern. There wasn't a sense of just having a value for humans,
Yeah.
right? And I'm talking about heterosexual relationships. If I got an LGBTQ, it would take too long. Oh my God. But there wasn't a value that the guys had for the girls, right? And even the way they spoke to them. And because that this, and like I said, you could go back to high school and see, I'm sure you go to junior high, but you go back to high school, the way they spoke to them and the girls took it. The girls actually more so were approaching the guys because the guys just sat back and waited for it. Some of this came out of the way that these kids were reared with senses of entitlement. And so we see this now as adults, right? In this young man that Megan Thee Stallion was with, there was clearly a sense of entitlement. Definitely not a sense of value for another human life. When
No,
you value someone, you will tell them the truth because you don't want to break someone's spirit.
absolutely. I think I'm trying to change the title here. People are responding in the Black Joy group. I think a couple of things you mentioned, like the level of entitlement that he had, the lack of accountability that you mentioned. Um More so I think even when I hear those things, even when I talk about those things, I still feel like um as those things are 100% true, it and it hurts. What hurts more is that our pain just continues to get ignored. Just the way, even that I think about the way that she was, even when she was on trial, the way that people talked about her, the way that people ridiculed her, the way that she was mocked. It just it's just these are things that happen to us consistently, and that's why we know. That's why even when we talked last week and we talked about that number 140 women across the was it it was across around the world, did it say, or across the country. That's why we both know that number is higher, because we know, one, is not always reported in the way that as much as it should be, at the rates that it should be reported. But even the rates that are reported sometimes get downplayed, often get downplayed, not even sometimes, often get downplayed, often get dismissed, often get mocked. And for for me, is really heavy, because even when you're talking about like emotional abuse, I was working with somebody today and she said, well, people know physical abuse. They know, even in cases of physical abuse, you will hear people say, make excuses. It's, like, it's just, they people say all kinds of things. But in emotional abuse, how do you define it? How do you determine it? what are the scars that emotional abuse leaves? What are the scars that uh abandonment leaves? What are the scars that betrayal leaves? And we don't talk about it enough, but even when we do talk about it, it's almost like it gets dismissed. It's another one of those things that just gets dismissed.
Yeah, I think that there not only is there an empathy deficit, we're also living with, and I always say young people because of my age, but when we're talking about these folks in these relationships, they haven't taken stock of their own emotional capacity. And so they just keep moving from person to person. If you want to call it relationship, it's probably situationship. And they haven't gone beneath the surface into their own emotions and feelings
Mm-hmm.
because they stay right here at the surface. And maybe they have experienced a hurt and decided they weren't going that deep. And so they act out of what has happened to them. Maybe you have so many that are acting out of a sense of entitlement that I can do this, right? Because I want to do this, and because I don't have any discipline, right? When you talk about cheaters, it's about having discipline. They just cheat because they want to. And in the case of Megan Thee Stallion's ex-boyfriend, he just cheated because people cheat because they want to. He cheated because he wanted to. There's no reason other than you cheat because you want to.
Oh yeah, because otherwise you have this person who you say you adore, and let me say this too. I also know that cheating is not always about the other person. It's usually about a void that somebody else is trying to fill. You're not trying to, a lot of times people cheating for whatever reason. The hard part is that she said what she wanted and then got demonized for saying, that may be who you are, that may be what you do, but I choose not to be a part of that. She I'm yeah, I'll bow out. And that, like, it's not okay. It was like, it's how she feels about it is on trial. Then she gets called names for it. And it's almost like, if you've ever been in a relation, have you ever been in a relationship? I guess I should say, I should ask people, have you ever been in a relationship or friendship or something, and you voiced your truth or how you feel about something, and all of a sudden you're the one who's demonized for that idea, for that thought, for having that feeling of not wanting to engage or be a part of something, a certain thing.
Well, it goes back to this sense of entitlement, right? If if I bow out and you come at me negatively because I bowed out, what it is, you feel like I shouldn't bow out. You're entitled to me. How dare you bow out? How dare you bow out from my abuse? No, you should sit here and take it.
Yeah, that is a big part of that entitlement. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, when sometimes, even just bringing it back to Black joy, I think sometimes people can think like, oh, you just pretend everything is happy. I've had moments like that, right? I've lived like that. We just gonna pray about it. It's gonna be all right. Meanwhile, you silently dying on the inside. So even Black joy is not about pretending that we don't have hard times. It is acknowledged. It's a very opposite. It's acknowledged that hard times happen, things happen, yet and still, um, I can be honest, and I can decide to, after, in the midst of feeling what I'm feeling, even if it's hurt, even if it's sadness, even if it's pain, I can decide in the midst of that I'm going to experience, or find ways to experience joy in the midst of that. But it's definitely not pretending that these things don't happen, or pretending that we, like, even I heard some people talking, and they were uh women of a certain faith, and they were saying that, oh, I don't know nothing about that. I don't know nothing about that because I'm not a part of that world. I don't listen to her music, so I don't know about that. But how dare you? How dare you dismiss the issues that women have and experience across the board, and especially being a woman of particular religions? We experience these things. Especially we can be the most Christ-loving individuals and still experience these things. We are not to say that she doesn't love Christ, but we can be operating in what we think is the vein of where we need to be, what we should do, what we should align with, which also adds to the level of grief, which also leads to the level of hurt that a lot of people experience too. Because for people who are willing to acknowledge it and admit it, this is not something that is just happening to somebody in a celebrity relationship. I think the thing that makes this a hot take for me is that this is something that happens to women every day in every walk of life, because this is what we have been exposed to, what we have been socialized for. And if we don't take the time to deconstruct some of that thinking and some of the things that have been placed on us, that we don't often get a chance to walk away from that and be free from that mindset and understand and be able to have a voice for yourself no matter what, to say, I don't want that in my life, and be okay with it.
And there's a couple things there. So the religious, the religious women, first of all, it is the hypocrisy that allows them to function with dismissal, right? That's what that is. Because these religiously Hippocratic women are women that are this hypocrisy, I should say. The same thing happens to them. It's just the religious dogma
Mm-hmm.
that makes them keep themselves suffering in silence. That's what happens with them, right? They use the dogma to keep them not saying anything, right? Oh, I just pray about it. Oh, the Lord will fix it. Oh, Jesus, my husband. Jesus is not your husband. Stop lying, right? So that's the first thing.
I remember somebody married Jesus.
Yeah, Jesus. Jesus did not.
My friend said her dad one time said she told her dad a woman married Jesus, and she said to him, and not to laugh, but I gotta laugh. She said that her dad said, "Oh, ask her what she do when she get horny then." And I thought that was I was like, I was younger and I was like, oh my gosh, he said that. But
Jesus didn't attend. Not that wedding. But here's the other thing about joy, right? We talk about Black joy. The fact that you walk away from those situations that do not serve you, not just as a woman or a Black woman in particular, but do not serve you as a human, is a function of joy. Joy is not happiness. Joy is something that is in you as a person that allows you to maintain yourself in a space where you can have hope, where you can move forward, where you can find a reason to get up every day, where you can see a child playing and can laugh with that child, even though you've just gone through the hardest thing you've ever gone through. Joy allows your heart space to open up, even though you've been through something that you wanted to close up. No, you walk away because you're going to keep your joy. Mm-hmm. That's Black joy.
that's right. And I think also I that makes me think of a mindset shift, to make sure that we realize that I don't need my pain validated to express it, to experience it, I don't even need validation
Mm-mm.
to begin the healing work that I want to begin.
Mm-mm.
But I got another topic. We got another topic. We got another topic. We got another topic because it's the third time. It's the third time somebody tried this. They said don't do this, but it's the third time that there has been an alleged attempt
Mhm.
on the president and the cabinet members of our government.
Mhm.
Um, and I heard somebody say that the entire line of succession was in that room. The president was in there, the vice president, the secretary of state. Um,
I heard that the person was trying to take the whole administration out. That's the thing I heard.
would generally they wouldn't all be in the same room at the same time,
Because
would they?
usually you have to have one person left in the White House. So I don't think if whoever said that I don't think was accurate. Usually there's one person left behind.
We don't know. Um, uh, well, okay, wait. Going back. So I'm going. I want to know if that's because I know JD Vance was there because they got him out kind of first. The president was there.
I don't
Um,
think the Secretary of State was there.
maybe not. But who's Secretary of State? Marco Rubio? He is?
Yes.
Oh goodness. Why didn't I know that? Why did I have to guess it? I knew Nancy and
Nancy Pelosi is in the Congress.
um Hillary was the secretary. Wasn't she Secretary of State? Who was his Secretary of State after Hillary Clinton? Never mind. Never mind. That's another place. But the correspondence dinner is historically been this moment of press. It's been a moment of power for us, like a celebration of First Amendment rights, and supposed to be some humor all at the same time. Did they didn't even have a comedian this year, I don't think.
Oh, they had a mentalist.
What's a mentalist?
Somebody that like will tell you things about yourself or whatever. You know, they didn't have a comedian because Trump didn't want to be embarrassed.
Um,
I mean, that of course they didn't say that, but basically that's it.
yeah, I mean, it kind of tracks with what we're seeing now, right? It tracks with what we're seeing in terms of having this president who has like demonstrated threatening behavior toward journalists and other people who have tried to say anything that has been controversial toward him. We talked about even the 60-minute interview where she mentioned that there was the alleged gunman said these things about how he couldn't allow a rapist to continue to do what he was doing, and she mentioned it, she quoted it, and then as soon as she quoted him, she said he said that to her that she was an awful person and that she shouldn't have said that he's not a rapist. And her question back to him was, oh, did you think that was about you? Because he didn't mention any names. um but just even the threats that he gave to her, the way he was demeaning toward her in that interview. He's done that to Barbara Walters. You didn't have to say that. You didn't have to bring that up when she called him. But I always remember that interview with Barbara Walters because the way she leaned in and the way she like eloquently continued to speak and break it down, even in the midst of him at the time this was his first term, I believe. At, or it could have been an interview she did before that first term. Either way, the way she leaned in and the way she held to it and the way she just kept an objective journalistic flow about it was, I always thought that was like a moment of real strength, a moment of just really real strength actually, and just giving a voice to people who really didn't have a voice, even in the subtle things that she did.
Well, he demeaned Black journalists much, much worse than that. Consistently, he demeans Black journalists, Black women journalists in particular. Mm-hmm. And they continue to do their jobs.
And they continue. They continue to do their job. But we know one of the harshest things is that what happens to people in America often happens to Black people on a more harsh, more rigorous term. He is no exception to that rule.
I think the what really stood out for me with this this situation where I think would be a point in relationship to what we're talking about and the notion of reset is that we really need to reset our expectations about who cares for us. Because in his statement, because you know he went into the press room right after this happened, right, and he makes these statements, but never did he address the safety of the press who was in the room.
No, he didn't.
Everybody in the room was the press. And when the gunman came in, the way that the ballroom is set up, he was sitting in, if you would say that the front of the ballroom was the door the gunman came in, he was sitting in the back. So the gunman would have had to come through all of those people. He would have shot through all of those people to get to Trump. So he would have shot press. He was shot journalists. He made no comment about these people actually would have shielded him with their lives, not just the FBI or Secret Service or those people, but the journalists who could have been killed or harmed.
Yeah.
So here's another example of people in power. Like we were talking about entertainers, but even people in power who we have voted in, right, to give a damn about us.
Just the ounce.
Just an ounce, huh? Who really have no concern about our well-being as just humans. There was no concern about those journalists. And this is not the first time.
I think that room, what we saw in that room is indicative of also how he operates too, because I think that to have journalists, to have people who tell us the truth, to me, to try to smother it and try to demean them at every point you get, is like saying it's almost a way of covering up what you want to do. You don't need to tell what I'm doing, so let me dismiss it. Let me minimize it and make it seem like you're the enemy because I don't want you to tell what's actually going on.
The apps, and it's once again, it's the absence of care.
Of care. It's the absence of care. I think even that you have a right to know. You have a right to know what's going on in your country. You have a right to share these as a journalist, right? But it's like this right is impeded, and the care that goes along with it is not only. I want to. I'm gonna even say this because it's not even the absence of care. The care is absent, but the amount of danger that is even called on to people in the press that is even that is directed their way is also another factor that I don't even think we think about enough. Their safety is already at risk when you're doing certain things, you're in certain areas, their safety is already there just to make sure that people get an accurate report, are able to know. um and this is him again saying like that's not my priority. It's not my priority for these people to be safe.
The administration has made the press the enemy in this country, which has made the press have a target on its back all the time. which is another framing of the absence of care. But what happens with the administration, and this is any time with an institution, institutions represent power. And that power permeates in the country. Institutions in our country are politics, education, religion, right? The criminal justice system. All of those institutions, the power in those institutions create the energy of our country.
Right.
And that energy filters down to the individual and how we have these social agreements between each of us. And we sometimes are not aware that the way we function between us, there is this sort of like macro structure, right? This macro energy that has impacted us, right? We can even look just a mere 20 years ago. I'll give it to you. Obama administration, Clinton administration, for those that were born. Total different energy in this country than
Completely different energy, like completely.
Mhm. And I think that when we talk about resetting, the notion of resetting means being mindful of the energy that's around us and that impacts us, right? So that and it can impact us. All of us are subject to it. So that we understand where is it that I need to have a boundary around me so that I am not allowing this to permeate me to the point that I become like it. Because if I become like it and it gets down to my joy, that's a wrap.
And I think even in thinking about you talking about black joy, that is something that is a I can't use my words today because I feel like I want to make up a bunch of words today, but it's a reclamation of who we are. It's something that we have chosen to reclaim, to be the authors of our own narrative. A lot of times when you're dealing with things like this, you get confused. You start to betray yourself because you don't trust yourself because of a lot of gaslighting. Oh, you should work harder. Oh, you should try harder. Or you should want to make this work. Or you should without any accountability, like we talked about earlier, toward the person who is divisive, who is destructive, who is creating the mess.
Yes.
So it causes a lot of distrust within yourself and confusion. Like, I don't know if I'm making the right decision. Am I saying the right thing? Is it me or is it them? And it really has to, it really to me it really speaks to a place of my of mindset shift of bringing us back to ourselves, where we're the author, where we continue to be the author of our own narrative, where you allow yourself to sit with yourself, where you can take a minute to yourself and know that feeling on the inside of you, that spirit, that feeling has never steered you wrong. And we take that, we get that feeling, and then we like quickly override it with some other thing. And it's so important that we hold on to that. It's so important when like when you like you talked about the institutions, when the institutions fail us as they have so many times before. And I will even go a step further as to say there have been some really good things that I've gotten from the institutions here. I can't take it away. I had some really fantastic teachers, but institutionally, system wise, as institutions, they have failed us in a lot of ways. and they will likely continue to. But as they do, what's the story that we tell? What do we take from that? We don't we don't get to outsource our safety to them. We have to be the owners of our own story. And that to me is the mindset shift. So who do I let tell my story? As we kind of wrap up today, who do I let tell my story? How do I tell my story? What am I consuming? I realized recently I am consuming so many videos, so much stuff. And I intentionally, I'm very intentional about how I curate what I watch. I make sure I watch independent journalists. I watch objective news. I watch spiritual things. I watch things that are going to add to me, build me up, give me hope, continue to and educate me. Even in that, I find myself sometimes on this in this manosphere or in this other space where you can be constantly bombarded with messages, which makes me realize what are you consuming? Being mindful of what you consume and how much you are consuming from outside sources, right? Here's the thing that you can do. You can wake up first thing in the morning. And even before you go to bed at night, this is a good practice. Turn off your devices. The recommended time is 2 hours, but I would say at least an hour before. You probably could turn your watch, just turn the Wi-Fi off, but I don't know how realistic that is for people, for some people. However, an hour before bed, turn it off and get with yourself. Sit with yourself. In the morning, give yourself, before you grab your phone, before you turn on the news, before you turn on even music, give yourself 5 minutes with yourself before you go into prayer and begin your day of meditation. Like, start your day off with silence. Give yourself time to be silent with yourself. And then begin to move on with your prayer, with your meditation, with your music, with those other parts of your day, whatever things that help you move along the way. But make sure that you're mindful of what you're consuming and how you see yourself.
And,
Um,
and
yeah,
give
that's the main things for me. The main things I wanted to remind people of, that I'm the author of my own story. So no matter what people say, how they see you, it's hard. It's hard. It's hurtful. But at the end of the day, you are the one who has to sit with you. You are the one who knows what God is sharing with you, what God has given you, the gifts that He has placed in you. You are the one who is tasked with carrying out what you have to carry out. So choose to write what's next. You get to choose that. You got some closing words for us, Dr. Kim?
just
You,
to remember every day, whether it's a week or a day or a moment, you can reset yourself. You can always start over.
oh, I like that. I like that. And I'm gonna leave you with some homework. I'll leave you with some homework to Dr. Kim's point. You can always reset yourself. Take a pen, hold it. Imagine the paper. Picture yourself holding the pen. Actually, you don't even have to get a real pen, but it's nice if you could hold a pen in your hand. Get a piece of paper and you decide what goes on that paper. You decide what goes on that paper. This is your reset. You decide what goes on that paper. Nobody else. No external forces. Just you. You and the God. So I think that we can wrap it up this today, and we'll be back next week, same time,
Same
for
station.
our weekly for our week, same time, same station, for our weekly reset. And just remember, like, the absence of care is, it's just we just got to be mindful of it.